Brand new fighters, grounded, fuel pouring out like a broken faucet. Boeing's 90 million F-15EX Eagle II has a problem so bizarre that engineers are scratching their heads. These jets use the exact same fuel system. That's worked flawlessly for 40 years. Qatar flies the same design without issues. But America's version? Fuel streaming out at dangerous rates. Multiple aircraft sitting useless on tarmacs. The fuel vents that should drip occasionally are now gushing like garden hoses. Nobody saw the F-15EX was supposed to be foolproof. The safe bet, a proven design with decades of success. Instead, we're witnessing the most unexpected failure in modern fighter history, a fuel system disaster that has left America's newest fighters sitting helplessly on the ground, while engineers frantically search for answers. If you think our military deserves fighters that actually work, type proud in the comments below and let us know what you think about this shocking development. The impossible failure. August 2025. Multiple F-15EX fighters suddenly develop fuel venting so severe they're immediately grounded. But here's what makes this absolutely mind-blowing. This should have been impossible. The F-15 fuel system is one of the most proven designs in aviation history. Over 4 decades of flawless operation, thousands of flights, combat missions, training sorties, emergency situations, the fuel venting system has worked perfectly through it all. Boeing took this exact same design and put it in the F-15EX. Same basic components, same engineering principles, same fuel flow patterns. Qatar's F-15QA uses virtually identical systems and has 0 problems. Saudi Arabia's F-15SA, no issues whatsoever. But America's jets? Fuel streaming out like someone left the tap running. Not normal venting that happens during maneuvers. Not the occasional drip during fuel expansion. We're talking about excessive, continuous fuel discharge that makes these fighters unsafe to fly. The investigation revealed something even more shocking. Boeing suspects. They might have entire batches of defective valves installed in these aircraft. Imagine that. Brand new fighters built with components that don't work properly. Components that should have been tested and verified before installation. What makes this failure so unpredictable is that it only appeared after delivery. These jets passed all factory tests. They flew from Boeing's facility to Air Force bases without problems. Only after arriving at operational units did this. Catastrophic fuel venting suddenly manifest. Ground crews started noticing fuel pooling under aircraft that should have been bone dry, fuel streaming from wingtip ports at rates nobody had ever seen, aircraft that had just completed successful flights were suddenly hemorrhaging fuel faster than anyone thought possible. Boeing's own engineers admitted they're testing multiple potential fixes because they don't know which component is actually causing the problem. Think about that. The company that built these jets can't figure out why their own fuel system is failing. Before we dive deeper, please take a second to like this video and subscribe. Over 98% of viewers watch without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it means a lot to us. Why nobody saw this coming? The F-15EX was marketed as the ultimate low-risk fighter. Boeing's pitch was simple. Take a proven design, add modern electronics, and deliver reliable capability immediately. No experimental technology. No unproven systems. Just good old American engineering that had worked perfectly for generations. Military planners loved this approach. After years of delays and cost overruns with newer fighter programs, the F-15EX represented a return to basics. A fighter that would work right out of the box because every major component had been tested in real-world operations for decades. The fuel system especially seemed bulletproof. F-15 variants have operated in every conceivable environment. Desert heat that expands fuel rapidly. Arctic cold that contracts everything. High-G maneuvers that slosh fuel violently around tanks. Combat damage that stresses systems to their limits. Through it all, the fuel venting system worked flawlessly. Boeing even had an active production line building. Similar aircraft for international customers. The F-15QA for Qatar Incorporated. Most of the same improvements, planned for the American version. These jets have been flying operationally since 2020, with 0 fuel system problems. So what went wrong with America's version? The answer appears to be manufacturing quality control. Components that should work perfectly are failing in ways that suggest basic production problems. Boeing's investigation is focused on valve torque, specifications, and connector problems. These are fundamental manufacturing issues that should never reach operational aircraft. Quality control systems exist specifically to catch such problems before delivery. But here's the truly shocking part. These problems weren't random isolated failures. Multiple aircraft experienced similar fuel venting issues simultaneously. This suggests systematic problems in Boeing's manufacturing process, not just bad luck with individual components. The investigation has revealed potential issues with entire batches of valves from suppliers. If true, this means Boeing installed known defective components in multiple aircraft without catching the problem during quality inspections. Military officials are privately expressing disbelief that such basic manufacturing failures could occur on a proven design. These aren't experimental systems pushing technological boundaries. These are standard fuel components that have worked reliably for 40 years. The investigation reveals stunning details as investigators dug deeper into the fuel venting crisis. They uncovered details that made the problem even more shocking. The failures weren't random mechanical breakdowns. They were preventable manufacturing errors that should never have left the factory. Boeing discovered that fuel system connectors weren't torqued to proper specifications. This means workers were either not following procedures or the procedures themselves were inadequate. Either way, it represents a fundamental breakdown in quality control. But wait, it gets worse. The investigation found that some aircraft might have received valves from defective production batches. Boeing is now questioning whether their supplier quality oversight was adequate to catch such problems before installation. Think about what this means. Brand new fighters worth nearly $100 million each were delivered with fuel systems that hadn't been properly assembled. Components that should seal fuel lines were loose. Valves that should regulate pressure weren't functioning correctly. The most shocking revelation, Boeing's own quality. Inspectors apparently missed these problems during final aircraft inspections. Every F-15EX undergoes extensive testing before delivery, including fuel system checks. Yet somehow multiple aircraft with fuel venting problems passed these inspections and were delivered to operational units. Military investigators are now questioning whether Boeing's quality control procedures are adequate for modern fighter production. When basic assembly errors can reach operational aircraft, it suggests systematic problems that go beyond individual mistakes. Here's what makes this especially infuriating for military planners. These problems were completely preventable. Proper torque specifications exist for every connector. Quality control procedures exist to verify correct assembly. Supplier oversight exists to ensure component quality. Yet somehow all these safeguards failed simultaneously, allowing multiple defective aircraft to reach operational units. It's a perfect storm of quality control failures that nobody predicted because such comprehensive breakdowns seemed impossible. The investigation has also revealed that Boeing knew about potential supplier quality issues, but apparently didn't implement adequate corrective measures before continuing production. This suggests the company prioritized delivery schedules over ensuring component quality. The shocking scope of the problem. As more details emerged, the true scope of the F-15X fuel problem became clear, and it was worse than anyone initially realized. This wasn't just a few isolated aircraft with minor fuel leaks. Multiple jets were experiencing fuel venting so severe they couldn't fly safely. The Oregon Air National Guard's 142nd Fighter Wing received some of the first operational F-15EX aircraft. These were supposed to be the pride of the fleet. Brand new fighters replacing aging F-15Cs in homeland defense missions. Instead, ground crews found themselves dealing with fuel puddles under aircraft that should have been mission-ready. But here's the most shocking part. The fuel venting problem only manifested after these jets reached operational bases. They had flown successfully from Boeing's facility to their new homes. Only then did the excessive fuel discharge suddenly appear, catching everyone completely off guard. Boeing's investigation teams are now racing to understand why fuel systems that worked during factory testing suddenly failed at operational units. The leading theory involves valve problems that only manifest under certain operational conditions not replicated during factory tests. This creates a terrifying possibility. Other delivered aircraft might have the same latent problems that haven't manifested yet. If valve defects only appear under specific operational conditions, aircraft that seem fine now might suddenly develop fuel venting problems during future operations. The Air Force has quietly implemented additional inspections of all delivered F-15EX aircraft to check for signs of potential fuel system problems. This extraordinary measure shows how seriously military officials view this crisis. They're essentially assuming that any F-15EX might develop fuel venting issues without warning. International customers are watching this situation with growing concern. Israel has ordered 50 F-15IA fighters based on the same design as the troubled F-15EX. If American jets are experiencing fuel system failures, will Israeli aircraft face similar problems? Boeing's reputation for reliability, built over decades of successful fighter production, is crumbling with each new revelation about the F-15EX fuel crisis. When a company can't even get fuel systems right on a proven design, it raises questions about their ability to manufacture reliable military aircraft. The most shocking aspect of this entire crisis, it was completely avoidable. Every component that's failing has worked perfectly in other F-15 variants. Every assembly procedure that's causing problems has been successfully used for decades. This isn't a technology failure, it's a quality control catastrophe. Why this disaster was unpredictable. The F-15EX fuel venting crisis represents something truly unprecedented in modern aviation. The complete failure of a proven system for reasons nobody could have predicted. When military planners chose the F-15EX, they specifically wanted to avoid technological risks by using established designs. The fuel system failing so catastrophically seemed impossible, because it had literally never happened before. F-15 variants have accumulated millions of flight hours across multiple decades without experiencing anything remotely similar to the current crisis. Consider the operational history. F-15Es have flown combat missions in every major conflict since the 1980s. They've operated in desert heat, Arctic cold, high altitude, low altitude, peacetime training, and wartime stress. Through it all, fuel system reliability was never questioned. Boeing took this bulletproof design and somehow managed to break it through manufacturing. Problems that should have been caught by multiple layers of quality control. It's like taking a recipe that's worked perfectly for 40 years and somehow burning the meal despite following the same instructions. The shocking part isn't just that the fuel system failed, it's that it failed in ways that revealed fundamental problems with Boeing's manufacturing process. When basic assembly procedures aren't followed correctly, when supplier quality isn't verified adequately, when quality inspections miss obvious problems, it suggests systematic breakdowns that nobody predicted. Military officials are privately admitting they never considered the possibility that Boeing might not be able to manufacture a proven design correctly. The assumption was that technological risk had been eliminated by choosing established systems. Nobody predicted that manufacturing risk would replace technological risk as the primary threat to program success. Here's what makes this truly unpredictable. Boeing had successfully manufactured similar aircraft for international customers without these problems. The F-15QA production line was running smoothly. The F-15SA had been delivered successfully. There was no indication that American F-15EX production would encounter such fundamental quality control failures. The fuel venting crisis has forced military planners to confront an uncomfortable reality. Even proven designs can fail catastrophically if manufacturing quality isn't maintained. This represents a new category of risk that defense planners hadn't adequately considered. The military's shocking response, the Air Force's response to the F-15EX. Fuel crisis has been swift and decisive, and it reveals just how seriously military leaders view this unprecedented failure. Multiple aircraft were immediately grounded pending investigation.